Hello, everybody. I'm going to call to order the June 11th, 2024 Town Council meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Mr. Wadsworth, would you lead us, please? Cue. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we will start off with presentations and recognitions.
We are going to start off with our Stephen A. Fliss Scholarship winner. If you would care to join me. Oh, here, come on, right over here, yeah. All right, so this is our proclamation. Whereas the Stephen A. Fliss Scholarship was established in 1985 and dedicated to Stephen A. Fliss, who served as town manager of the town of Farmington from 1955 to 1985, and whereas the scholarship was established for Farmington residents seeking a college degree in public administration and/or public service, and whereas Leanne Jahoff of Farmington submitted her application to the Stephen A. Fliss Scholarship Committee, and whereas the Stephen A. Fliss Scholarship Committee unanimously chose Leanne Jahoff's application and has approved a scholarship award of $500, and whereas Leanne Jahoff serves as a justice advisor to the Connecticut Juvenile Justice Alliance, founded and chaired a nonprofit organization called Pathways for Yemen, and interned for Connecticut Citizen Action Group, and whereas Leanne Jahoff has been honored with memberships to the National Honor Society, Spanish National Honor Society, awarded the AP Scholar Award and the Governor Jody Rell University of Harvard Civility Award and Political Action Club, and whereas Leanne Jahoff will be attending Trinity College, where she will prepare for a career in immigration law as she continues to serve the public through her drive and passion for the greater good. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Farmington Town Council commends Leanne Jahoff on her scholarship award and hereby encourages her continued success with her future studies. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this the 11th day of June, 2024, Joe Capitafaro, Chair. Here, let's stand out over here so we're not hidden behind the podium.
Congratulations. Right.
Good evening, everybody. It is my pleasure as a proud member of the Farmington Rotary to present this proclamation for our 50th anniversary. And I'm presenting it to you, Mary Lou, in honor. Would you like to come up?
Let's go.
If you all want to come up, come on up. You know me, I'm always good for a party.
Brian, I hope you have enough hats up there. Come on.
Just the wrong one.
Now I see.
Yeah, now you said it.
Did I get him?
Way to go.
I blew it.
All right. And really, this is in honor of your father, Dwight,
Yes.
who started the Farmington Rotary. So I just want to recognize that and you and your family
Thank
for all that you've done for Farmington.
Thank you.
But I will also like to say, whereas the Rotary Club of Farmington was chartered on May 30th, 1974, and has been instrumental over the last 50 years in helping to make the town of Farmington a better place to live, work, and raise a family. And whereas the Rotary Club of Farmington has raised and donated more than $500,000 for other charitable organizations in town, including the Land Trust, Stanley Whitman House, Farmington Library, Camp Current, Special Olympics, the Yukon Health Center, and whereas the Rotary Club of Farmington has provided over $200,000 in scholarships to local students to continue their education beyond high school. And whereas the Rotary Club of Farmington has regularly mentored students in the alternative high school and has conducted valuable annual training about the importance of pollinators to all second graders. And whereas the Rotary Club of Farmington has promoted creative thinking and writing by sponsoring the annual essay contest for 5th and 6th graders at the Westwoods Upper Elementary School. And whereas the Rotary Club of Farmington has annually honored first responders and veterans with special recognition events. And whereas the Rotary Club of Farmington has annually hosted a holiday party for seniors involving the FHS Madrigal Singers, who the club annually supports. And whereas the Rotary Club of Farmington has built numerous infrastructure projects, including pavilions on the Farmington Rails to Trails, Habit for Humanity, housing, and a footbridge for the Land Trust Aqueduct property. And whereas the Rotary Club of Farmington has annually supported the Salvation Army with seasonal fundraising. And whereas the Rotary Club of Farmington has annually conducted a well-known 5K trail race, bringing hundreds of runners to Tungus Mead and supporting the FHS crew team. Now, therefore, let it be resolved. We congratulate the Farmington Rotary Club for their positive contributions to the town of Farmington and for celebrating 50 successful years of community service. Dated this 11th day of June 2024, Farmington, Connecticut, Joe Capodiferro.
I'm going to say a few words.
Hold on, Mary Lou. We got one more person before you speak.
Oh, okay. You coming up now?
Yeah. Let's get it all the way, then you can say your words.
Thank you, FX.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be brief. I just wanted to first congratulate Leanne on her award, well-deserved, and you're going to do great, as you already have. So, this is for the Rotary. From the state of Connecticut, General Assembly, official citation introduced by Representative D'Amico, Representative Cooley, Senator Slapp, and Senator Lopes. Be it hereby known to all, the Connecticut General Assembly offers its sincerest congratulations to the Rotary Club of Farmington in recognition of your 50 years of recognizing and supporting so many deserving residents and nonprofit community organizations in Farmington and Unionville. For a half century, through fundraising and charitable donations to numerous civic groups, providing scholarships to deserving high school students, mentoring and engaging elementary students, honoring seniors, first responders, and veterans, and building numerous infrastructure projects, you have enriched and inspired your community, which is forever in your debt. The entire membership extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for continued success. And it's dated today at the State Capitol in Hartford, and it's signed by the President of the State Senate, Martin Looney, Speaker of the House, Matt Ritter, and Secretary of the State, Stephanie Thomas. So congratulations, one and all.
Thank you.
Well deserved.
Thank you.
All right, congrats. You have to speak, so you're going to get it.
No,
There you
you're
go.
going to speak. Thank you.
We'll get pictures.
Congrats.
So thank you. My dad, Dwight Wadsworth, was a founding member of the Rotary Club of Farmington. So 50 years ago, 11 guys sat in the living room, Reservoir Road, and said, let's get our Rotary Club here. So 50 years later, I'm sitting in a restaurant with these people weekly planning our next event for the town of Farmington and beyond. So his whole philosophy about Rotary was have fun, make friends, and raise thousands of dollars for the town, people, state, country, and the world, because we are a global group of do-gooders. When people say, what's Rotary? I always say, oh, we're just a bunch of do-gooders, because we have so many interests and so many aspects and so many different members that we all support each other in our interests and try to make a difference in the world. And I think we do. So thank you all. Thank the town, the state, to FX. He's a member. He's also a very busy person. And we really appreciate your support. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, all of the group, yeah. Let me stand in the
Over
back.
hat budget, I'm sorry. One double down.
Patty, you're up. Your choice. You're more than welcome to.
Thing is, there's no one here to.
Thank you guys very much. We'll start our next proclamation.
Whereas the month of June is recognized internationally as Pride Month to commemorate the Stonewall riots of June 1969, where people in the LGBTQ plus community in New York City courageously fought back against harassment and discrimination. And whereas the town of Farmington cherishes the value and dignity of each person and understands the importance of equality and freedom. And whereas Farmington denounces prejudice and discrimination based on age, gender identity, gender expression, race, color, religion, marital status, national origin, sexual orientation, or physical disability. And whereas the town of Farmington believes that a diverse population leads to a more vibrant community and appreciates the cultural, civic, and economic contributions of the LGBTQ plus community. And whereas the town of Farmington believes that every human being has the right to live their life openly as who they are. All are welcome in Farmington to live, work, play, and prosper. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Farmington Town Council hereby proclaims June 2024 as LGBTQ plus Pride Month in the town of Farmington. And we call upon our community to recognize the contributions made by the LGBTQ plus community and actively promote the principles of equality, liberty, and justice. Dated this 11th day of June, 2024, at Farmington, Connecticut, signed Joe Capitaferro, Chair, Farmington Town Council.
The following proclamation for Juneteenth. Whereas our country is made up of people from every nation on earth, who are declared equal not only in freedom but also in justice, both of which are essential for a healthy human civilization. And whereas the United States of America, in declaring its independence on July 4th, 1776, proclaimed, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain undeniable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." And whereas President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, which holds that all persons held as slaves within a state or a designated part of a state shall be then and thereforward forever free, changing the legal status of 3.5 million enslaved people. And whereas on January 31st, 1865, Congress passed the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution, abolishing slavery throughout the United States and its territories. And whereas the news of freedom disseminated gradually throughout the nation on June 19th, 1865, 2 months after the official surrender of the Confederacy at Appomattox, and almost 2.5 years after President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, Union soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas, and issued General Order No. 3 announcing freedom to the last enslaved people in the United States. And whereas Juneteenth is nationally recognized as National Freedom Day, Emancipation Day, Jubilee Day, and Juneteenth Independence Day, the oldest holiday commemorating the abolition of sanctioned slavery in the United States. And whereas on this anniversary each year, our nation celebrates African American heritage, history, freedom, and culture with events and ceremonies that reflect the power of community, family, art, and tradition in the face of oppression. And whereas the town of Farmington has joined together with surrounding Farmington Valley towns to provide the annual Juneteenth celebration featuring music, activities, and food on June 15th, 2024 at Simsbury Meadows Performing Arts Center. Now therefore be it resolved that the Farmington Town Council encourages the people of Farmington to join in celebrating Juneteenth as a day to honor and reflect on the significance of all African Americans in the history of the United States. Dated this 11th day of June 2024 at Farmington, Connecticut, Joe Capodafaro, Chair, Farmington Town Council.
Thank you, and I will read the last one. This is for National Gun Violence Awareness Day, which should not be just one day, but for every day. Whereas the first Friday in June is declared as National Gun Violence Awareness Day to honor and remember all victims and survivors of gun violence, and to declare that we as a country must do more to reduce gun violence. And whereas every day more than 100 Americans are killed by gun violence and are 25 times more likely to die by gun homicide than people in other high-income countries. And whereas support of the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens go hand in hand with keeping guns away from people with dangerous histories. And whereas on January 2023, Hadia Pendleton, a teenager who marched in the presidential inaugural parade, was tragically shot and killed just weeks later. And whereas to help honor Hadia and more than 100 American lives who are cut short and the countless survivors who are injured by shootings, a national coalition of organizations has designated June 7th, 2024, the first Friday in June, as the 10th National Gun Violence Awareness Day. And whereas the idea was inspired by a group of Hadia's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her by wearing orange, the color chosen because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters in the woods, and orange symbolizes the value of human life. And whereas by wearing orange on June 7th, Americans will raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives and lost human potential of Americans stolen by gun violence. And whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to all that we do keep firearms out of the wrong hands, encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our children safe. Now therefore be it resolved that the Farmington Town Council declares the first Friday in June, June 7th, 2024, to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day. It encourages all citizens to support the local communities' efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor the value of human lives. Dated today, the 11th of June, 2024, by myself, Joe Capodafaro, Chair. And now we'll go on to Section D, Public Hearing, which we have none. E, New Items.
I'll make a motion that we add agenda item L13.
Do we have a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second, and that is just to put on another appointment into our list. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We will go on to public comment. We will start with anybody in the room. Please come up to the podium. You'll have 5 minutes. Please state your name and your home address.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Arlene Klein, and I live at 43 Cope Farms Road. I'm here tonight, my purpose coming before you tonight is to address the process by which Farmington residents are notified about public hearings. Specifically, I wanted to talk about the requirements for letters to abutters, signage, and newspaper notifications. I know the town is fulfilling the requirements stated in the Connecticut General Statutes, but those statutes lay out the minimum requirements, and I believe doing only the minimum does not serve the best interests of Farmington residents. Regulations state that property owners abutting the subject property must be notified by mail. These notifications must be postmarked no later than 10 days before the public hearing. However, mail delivery has slowed significantly over the years, and I'm asking that you make a concerted effort to mail those notifications sooner, if you can. I received a letter notifying me of a public hearing on Monday, April 8th. I have the envelope here. The envelope was postmarked March 28th. That's fulfilling the 10-day requirement. It was stamped in Hartford on April 1st. It was first attempted to be delivered to me on April 3rd, which is a Wednesday. These letters need to be signed for. We were not home, so it went to the post office. We went to the post office the following day, April 4th, to pick it up, and that's only because one of us was home on vacation that day. Otherwise, we would not have gotten it till Saturday, and the public hearing was on Monday. The documents and maps for public hearings, it's required that they be available in the town hall 10 days before the public hearing. So I'm asking that you make a concerted effort that people who abut properties and have an interest in what's the public hearing is all about have as much of that full 10 days as they possibly can to look at the documents. Now I want to talk about signs. Farmington places a sign, I think it's something like 24 by 36 inches. They usually put it out 10 days before a public hearing. The sign, it's very difficult to read from the road. It only has, all it says is public hearing, and it has a phone number. And I want to compare that, and I brought pictures with me. This is Farmington sign. That's what Farmington does. And I had to get out of my car to make it larger so you could actually read that. This is what Bristol does. And if you were familiar with this public hearing, Maltby Street in Bristol, there's wetlands on both sides of the street. This sign, there were 4 of them lining each side of Maltby Street, and then around the corner where the fire station is, there was 1 more of those signs. 5 signs on a property versus what we usually do, and then the amount of information that they give is far greater. And I'd like to say that also, when you look at what we put out as a public hearing sign and compare that to what we do for townwide cleanup or what we do for hazardous waste, you get the feeling that those 2 one-off days are more important in notifying the public than it is to notify the public of a public hearing. Also, I want to address newspaper ads. It's fulfilling the requirement to put it in a print newspaper, and I know that our public hearing notices go out twice into the Hartford Courant. But it's not the most widely read paper anymore. Most people are not reading print papers, and so I'm suggesting that you perhaps also find a place to put it online. Perhaps the Patch, or even the Farmington's Economic Development newsletter, which goes out once a week and has a direct link to the Farmington's ct.org website where you have information. But if you put it right there in the Farmington Economic Development newsletter that there is a public hearing, it's, I think, much more prominent than a sign on a road that nobody can read. Now, I also want to talk about when a project is addressed in a public hearing and when it's addressed in a townwide referendum. The pickleball courts and the splash pad are being constructed on town-owned land. Town-owned land belongs to all Farmington residents, and all Farmington residents should have a say as to what is being constructed on town-owned land. Receiving a grant for 45% of the development cost should not negate the fact that Farmington residents should have a say as to what's being developed. Farmington taxpayers will be responsible for whatever costs are not being picked up by that grant, and they will also be responsible for any ongoing expenses, maintenance, water and electric usage, insurance, liability, employee salaries, and costs down the line when these structures need to be repaired or replaced. And there's probably things I haven't even thought about. Therefore, the decision should have been put to a town-wide referendum. With that said, even holding the public hearing on the pickleball courts and the splash pad was mishandled. Land was being cleared, trees were being taken down, and a parking lot was being laid out in anticipation of the pickleball courts and the splash pad before the application was presented to P&Z and before the public hearing. We got the impression, the few of us that were online, is that the public hearing was an afterthought. This was well underway before the public hearing. It was almost like, oops, you know, what happened? We didn't do a public hearing. So the people you represent have a right to express their opinion regarding town projects before the bulldozers begin, especially when they have a financial impact on the townspeople. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else in the audience like to come up? Anybody online, Cap? Oh. If you just state your name and your address, you have 5 minutes, sir.
My name is Edward Gilardi. I live at 1 Ship's Oak Lane, Farmington. I'm going to be impacted by the splash pad and pickle court. I don't understand how you could pick up a site like that. There's very little, even though I'm at a residence now, going up and down the street. Simple things like, who's it going to be open to? The general public? Is it going to be open to different organizations? Can a day care center bring the children there to play? What's going to happen with the parking lot? You're going to have little kids driving around. You still have people going to the golf course. You're going to have people attending the pickle, whatever you call it, courts. It seems very disjointed. Is it a good mix to have young kids going where most of the older folks, I mean, I enjoy the golf course. It's a real asset for the town of Farmington, but I think it's being destroyed by these additional options being taken. I want to know who asked for the splash pad. Is it the residents of Farmington, or is it a certain group? Because I can't believe in the town of Farmington that people would rather be going to a splash pad than having a little swimming pool in the backyard for the kids. It's for the kids. It's fine, but I think it's in a bad place. It'd probably be better off by Tungsten Speed Park or something like that, because it's got more open space. You have a big parking lot, and you can build it wherever you want it, because it's a large pad, unless, of course, it's a problem with the water table, whatever. Another thing I don't understand is nobody came through the neighborhood to tell us about the impact it might have on Cove Farms Road and their residents. Maybe the abutters got some letters. I'm about maybe a quarter of a mile away from the golf course, if you're going through somebody's backyard. What about the projected noise? Now we have people that have a nice, quiet neighborhood. What's going to happen all summer if they're going to have kids there from, say, 9 o'clock to 6 in the evening? There's going to be noise. And nobody asks how's it going to affect the quality of life in that neighborhood. We're going to probably have additional traffic coming through. If you're going to tell me it's going to be open to the open public, which it probably would be, you're going to have people coming in from Plainville, Bristol, Plainville, I don't know. It just seems that there's no transparency and no real communication. I already see that they already have a foundation laid by the parking lot for some kind of a building. I don't know what that's going to do, but there, as far as I know, I haven't seen any setup any place, like in the town hall or any place. Maybe there is one, how it's going to be laid out, dimensions. But what's going to be the capacity of the splash court? I mean, nobody says anything, and it's a big mystery. Then I find out it won't be completed now until September 24th. And I don't know, I mean, you know, talk about money being tight. I know in the firehouse at Tunx's Hose, the air conditioning went out, and they're telling me that there's no money in the budget to get it fixed on a short-term basis. They had to go borrow air conditioners from Mrs. Porter's school now to clear, you know, to cool the building. And is that the way you're going to treat the fire department? I mean, it just doesn't seem right. That's all I got to say, but it's just, I don't know, a lack of transparency of what's going on in our own town. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Kat, anybody online?
Yes, we do have a hand raised. Jay Tulin.
Hello, can you guys hear me at all? I want to just make sure.
Yes, Jay, welcome. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Joe? Hello, everyone. So it looks like you have a pretty big agenda, so I'm going to try and make this as brief as humanly possible for me. I have two things that I'd just like to bring up that I have in progress and nothing finalized yet. I've continued to be interested in community events of some kind. And there's two things that I'd like to just mention that I'm working on with some folks in town. The first one, after the events of October 7th in Israel, I attended a vigil at Emmanuel Synagogue. And at that event, Pastor Gibson and Rabbi Rebecca Goldman of the Farmington Valley congregation, which is in Simsbury, but she lives in Farmington, spoke at that vigil. And I reached out to them with an idea I had with what I initially thought would be a diversity event that the American Jewish Committee, which I am a member of, has put on. We've met 3 times. We are in the process of Rabbi Goldman and Pastor Gibson engaging the rest of the clergy. What turns out to be that we're hoping to happen sometime in the fall is some kind of an interfaith event that will include the community. I'm very excited about it, and apparently very proud. I guess I'm very proud from what they tell me of having a role in kind of getting the clergy in town together to consider doing some kind of event like this. So that's the first thing. It's not finalized yet, but it's in process, and I have every reason to believe that that will happen, and I'm very excited about it. The other thing is May was Jewish American Heritage Month. I do know from my past role as chair of the Human Relations Commission that typically dates of this nature are vetted by the Human Relations Commission. I'm speaking and I'm not on the Human Relations Commission any longer, obviously, but in my role on the American Jewish Committee and also on the Community Relations Task Force, and the possibility of what I'm about to say, having the ability to reach out to the community. One of the things in Jewish American Heritage Month is recognizing contributions of Jewish history in various towns. So I have reached out to the Jewish Historical Society and actually reached out to a member of the Farmington Historical Society, and I am collecting some information. I do have some already. It's not complete, in hopes that and I realize you're not the Historical Society. I'm just bringing this to you first, just to let you know that these are things that I would like to engage the community in, and hopefully at some point in time get the blessing from the town council. I think it's very important. Obviously, some recognition of contributions of Jewish folks in communities is very important. I have every reason to believe that this will be something that will be of value, and show that the contribution of Jews in this town will be recognized in the future. And that's basically all I have to say. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jay. Good to hear from you. Hope to see you soon.
You will.
Anybody else?
That's it.
That is it. Okay, we will close public comment and go over to G.
Item G, I make a motion to approve the minutes for the May 14th, 2024 regular town council meeting.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Agenda item G2, I'd like to make a motion to approve the May 15th, 2024 special town council meeting.
Second?
We have a motion and a second, and that was our tour of the high school that day. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. H. We have nothing. All right. We'll go on to reports of the committee. I. The 1928 building is going along as scheduled. I believe tomorrow is the first day that they'll go out to bid for site work. And they have a whole schedule that'll be posted online soon about site work applications, and as it goes there from month to month to month. But we are on schedule and meeting the time frame as the high school too, as far as demolition and repairing. So that is my report. High school building committee.
Sure. So we met last week. We approved some bids for technology equipment and a bid to do the tennis courts. One thing I wanted to note was we are planning the ribbon cutting for Monday, August 26th at 5 p.m. at the high school. That's the day before school starts. And then, so there'll be the ribbon cutting at 5 p.m. and an open house at 5:45, and all are welcome. Just a reminder that to accommodate the final stages of construction, the high school site will be unavailable for the rest of the summer starting tomorrow. And our next meeting is next week on the 19th at 5 p.m.
Thank you.
So I just had a quick question on that. because I thought the tour was very impressive. The building is coming together, it looks great, and everything's, it seems like there's a lot of work to still, obviously, like a big project of this sort always kind of comes down to the last, 90 days, so forth and so on, to get, things put together. I was just wondering, is this going to be completely open? Is it going to be any kind of maybe phased opening, or are we looking at the building in its entirety being occupiable?
The building in its entirety being occupiable. I mean, I think it's on schedule. I know there's a lot left to be done, but they're on schedule.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, they go through building A, B, C. It's kind of like a chain reaction for completion, but it will be open for the first day of school.
So there'll be work on other, like you said, it's a chain reaction. So some part will be finished and other parts will follow?
Correct. Yeah, so it's got A, B, and C, which are the classroom wings, are the first ones to
Right.
be completely complete. Then D, the gymnasium area, followed by the auditorium area. But then it'll be a complete certificate of occupancy for the whole building.
So you'll have different phased approach as far as those areas being turned over?
Correct, yep, punch list, temporary certificates of occupancy for those specific areas.
But just to be clear, everything is open, even in the phases at the first.
Yes, yeah, complete certificate of occupancy before the first day of
When the
school.
ribbon is cut, the school is
So,
ready.
yes.
Correct.
And then, sorry to belabor the point, there's administrators moving in soon, aren't there, like next week?
Yes, they've been working on getting the administrative suite done ahead of schedule so that they can get the temporary certificate of occupancy for that area and get people in the building.
Great.
Excellent. Thank you. Jay, report of chair and liaisons. I will start with a couple things. We had a nice celebration on June 6th at Irving Robbins for their 8th grade promotional. Congratulations to all the students who are coming up to our new high school, so they will be the first freshman class to enter the school when it opens up. On June 7th, class of 2024 graduated Farmington High School. And just like everything else, we started off with rain, but the ceremony started, the sun came out, and it was a beautiful graduation for all students. So good luck to everybody who was there. Please enjoy your summer and be safe. As you already know, the high school campus will be closed, including the fields, walking paths, to the public. It's part of the demolition phase, and obviously you have to start paving, so please, your patience is appreciated while the town gets everything ready for the school to open up. The town summer concert series starts this Thursday, 6:30 p.m. The first concert will be held at New Horizons to celebrate their Strawberry Festival, and the featured band is Centerline. The concert is open to all, and then after that concert, the rest of the concerts will be held over here on Monteith campus. And as we enter summer, everybody who likes to use the rails to trails, please use caution when coming up upon people. If you have a bell or simply just a voice, just alert them as you're coming up from behind so they know you're going to be passing them. And then the use of electric bikes on the pathway, please use safe speeds when using the paths, especially when you're coming up behind someone. They don't startle them into freaking out and jumping in the woods. And on the riverways, as you know, we always have issues with people going to the river and leaving their garbage behind. So please try to pick up after yourself when you're enjoying the outside scenery. We will have now a fully staffed CSO organization, patrolling that area, and we do have the staff of the town to help clean up. But it's really on the individual person going over there to please remove their garbage. And that would be it. Board of Education liaison, please.
The Board of Education last met on, their meeting tonight a special meeting tonight to appoint an administrator. But their last regular meeting was June 3rd. There was recognition of several Farmington High School students and of their award recipients, too numerous to go through tonight, but very impressive students. Presentations, annual presentations by Excel, Farmington Continuing Education, and the Building Committee, which we already heard about. They also adopted and repealed several policies. These are typically policies that are outdated or don't comply with new laws, but of maybe particular significance to parents is that the graduation requirements for the class of 2027 and beyond have been updated to now require personal finance management and financial literacy, which is mandated by the legislature, and now our policy matches, but that's a change. And another change is the class of 2025 and up will have to complete a FAFSA in order to graduate. Additionally, they approved the ad hoc committee recommendation regarding redistricting, the scenario that I mentioned at the last time. This will be effective for the school year 2025-2026. It will be moving certain addresses from East Farms to Noah Wallace, redistricting certain addresses from East Farms to Union. This is housing that has not yet been built, so these families aren't really impacted because there aren't families there yet. And it will shift the pre-K from Noah Wallace to Westwoods. The Board of Ed also approved the FPSEU contract for non-certified personnel for July 2024 through 2027. It creates, in year one, it's a 2.4% GWI, year two, 2.7, and year three, 3%, and there's some changes to health insurance premiums and other language regarding vacation time and retirement that was made. And finally, just a note, Kim Nguyen, the assistant superintendent, has announced that she will be retiring effective December 2024.
Excellent. Thank you very much, and thank you to our Ms. Kim Nguyen for all that she's done for this town for many, many years. Conservation, Inland and Wetlands.
Nothing significant to report. Conservation and Inland Wetlands continues to meet regularly. They continue to have applications for projects and a handful of cease and desist orders and violations that are still being evaluated by town staff.
Thank you. EDC.
The Economic Development had their business breakfast on Wednesday, June 5th, and they had a keynote speaker, Mr. Sean Scanlon, who is the Connecticut State Comptroller. The breakfast was well attended. The next meeting for the EDC is June 26th, and they continue to work on a bunch of different initiatives, and they're working hard to make things happen in Farmington. And that's all I have for them.
Excellent. I think we also, we honored the Mott Corporation for Business
Yes,
of
we
the
did.
Year.
Sorry, I should have mentioned that, yes.
An old business, but new to Farmington.
Right, right.
As they said. TPZ.
Town Planning and Zoning has meet on their regular scheduled basis. I would say one of the important projects that came through recently is specialty transportation needs a yard to be able to. They're the new company that has the bus contract for the school system, and so they have a site on New Britain Avenue. That was a couple meetings ago where that was approved, and obviously, like Arlene talked about tonight, procedurally, it's just. That didn't need the type of notice that other places had to have because where we were up at the pickleball courts. But it was a lively debate, and it got approved, and so that's going to go in New Britain Avenue, especially transportation. And then obviously one of the other ones a while back was this pickleball court. I think maybe some dates got a little crunched together in that front-end schedule for approval, and I think everybody's learned from that, and I think things will smooth out in the future as far as planning out those front-end schedules, being a little more cognizant of durations that you need to have. So, but
All right.
those were really the two big points.
All right. We will move on to the town manager report. Kay.
You have the written report at your places, just that the town of Farmington will be celebrating Pride Month throughout June, and so there's plenty of activities going on. The Juneteenth celebration, as I think we mentioned it last time, but that will be held on Saturday, June 15th at the Simsbury Meadows Performing Arts Center at 1 p.m. In other news, I'm pleased to report that we received a recreational trails program grant in the amount of $208,000. Dylan Riley, our civil engineer, and the engineering department applied for funding through the Connecticut Deep Recreational Trails Program Grant. This is a planning grant for a recreational trail along Route 4 towards West Hartford. And that he's been working with the bike committee on this grant. And lastly, just a quick update that we did expand our communication plan and our social media efforts, and we do have a new Facebook account, an Instagram account, and an X account, formerly of Twitter. So that was launched, I think, earlier this week. So we do have that, and that is my written report.
Excellent. I
Wanna
know
ask for
Brian wanted to
approval. Brian,
say.
did you want to?
Yeah, I do. Thank you. I just wanted to tag on to what you were saying about the recreational trails program grant that we got. I just am very fortunate that I'm the chair of the Bicycle Advisory Committee, and this is a group of really passionate and engaged Farmington residents who have been trying to do this for some time, and they worked really hard to work on this grant along with, thank goodness we have Dylan Riley, who was able to put the finishing touches on this thing, but for months. I just want to shout out to the team that helped put this thing together. I want to thank Carolyn, who was instrumental in getting this grant online in a shared document that everyone could contribute to and make adjustments to, so we could make this grant as complete and as good as it was. And I also want to thank Neil Kessley, Matt Stewart, Ron Gorlaski, Rich Mall, Jeff Gott, and Bruce Donald. These guys did a tremendous job and working with Dylan in making sure that we put together a grant that it was very difficult to say no to. And we're very fortunate that we're going to be able to connect, the Yukon Medical Center with the rest of Farmington and even into West Hartford. It's a real safety issue and a real way that we can engage and bring this community together. And I'm really happy that we got it and proud to be on this committee. And I just wanted to thank these guys for all that they did.
Thank you. And it's a great job by everybody.
Make a motion to approve the town manager's report?
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item L, appointments.
Under Agenda Item L3, that Jay Tulin, we heard from Jay tonight on some other projects that he's interested in with furthering in the town, be appointed to the Conservation and Inland Wetlands Commission as an alternate for the balance of a 4-year term beginning immediately and ending September 30th, 2027.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Under Agenda Item L5, I'd like to make a motion that Ernestine Tina Mazzone be appointed to the Human Relations Commission for a balance of a 2-year term beginning immediately and ending June 30th, 2025.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? She is my old neighbor. I'm glad to see that she's back and involved with the town again. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Agenda item L12, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Nancy Parent, Director of Community and Recreational Services, as the municipal agent for the elderly of Farmington for a 4-year term beginning immediately and ending June 30th, 2028.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
You have to do L8, please.
Oh. Listen, in my packet, it came out of order. My mistake, sorry. L8, I make a motion that Jessica Mercury be appointed as sub-registrar for the town of Farmington beginning immediately and ending January 5th, 2026.
Second?
I have a motion and a second, and that's for the replacement when Mr. Hearn passed away. She is the new appointee now for this, for the sub-register. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
I'll make a motion on Agenda Item L13 that Donna Ferber be appointed to the Human Relations Commission for a 2-year term beginning July 1st, 2024 and ending June 30th, 2026.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We have no old business, correct?
Correct.
All right, on to N1, please.
N1, I make a motion to amend rules of procedure.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Kathy?
Based on our meeting last month, I'm just recommending that the second regular town council meeting of each month, held on the 4th Tuesday of each month, be on an as-needed basis, and the document behind it just shows the changes in red.
All right. Any discussion?
Yes. So I think, where I'm looking at this is I don't disagree that there are times that the second meeting of the month is extra work, and we don't always need one. The wording in the proposed regulation, it would need to be tweaked a little, so that way it makes sense. Especially given that we're also proposing later in this agenda to cancel the first meeting of the month, which is an August meeting. But on top of that, while I think in an effort of collaboration and communication, I think it would be appropriate for the second meeting of the month to, if it's going to be canceled, to require a vote of the town council before, and for it to be approved by a supermajority. This aligns with the special council meetings in D, because any 3 members of the council may call a special meeting. So it makes sense to require a supermajority to cancel the second meeting, because 3 members of the council can also call a special council meeting.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I think that seems to be consistent. I mean, I think when you look at the fact that it takes 3 to call a special meeting, I think it is rightfully kind of a request to make the canceling of a council meeting to be a supermajority. I think even like last month, we talked about some proclamations and so forth that I think would have been handled maybe, on that second meeting in May for the month of June. And I think that might not be on everybody's radar screen, but it could be a certain council member, or 2 or 3 or 4 council members might have that on their radar screen. And I think it gives that opportunity to discuss the value of that second meeting, and then to really understand what we're foregoing if we don't convene for that second meeting. So to me, it's important enough that that type of business would take a supermajority for it to not have it take place.
All right. Anybody else have anything to say?
That's what we can do. We can just change the language a little bit, tweak it.
Well, also just realize your second meeting is a workshop, so we don't do proclamations in the second meeting. So that would not resolve anything, unfortunately, because they are set up as workshops for what we do. Also, as you know, staff is busy, you're busy, our time's valuable, their time is super valuable. So we don't just cancel meetings just to say we're canceling a meeting. If there's nothing there to work on, discuss, to do, then it's appropriate for how long have we been doing this to cancel these meetings. So it's not like we're trying to push anything off to not give the people a voice or anything like that. It's just cleaning up a little bit of what is needed, what isn't needed, and historically, the meetings that we cancel have been canceled. It's not like we're doing anything different. I think we still are the most open sitting council here compared to any other boards or committees. Everybody has the right to talk to their constituents, have conversations with our constituents. No need to go through a chain of command in order to answer questions that you may field out at home, in a park, or anywhere else. So I think we're not really limiting anything as far as communication. As Patty, we discussed when we first came on, we still have our public comment via Zoom, so we don't force people to have to come in here and talk. So we're doing everything we can to give the people the voice. And I think just by that second meeting being a workshop, if there's stuff that's not to be talked about, it's utilized to do it. But obviously, if there's a meeting that needs to be happen, we will have a meeting. But just to have a meeting, like you said, and to cancel it, and like I said, that last one we always do because they hold it in case the budget does fail. We need to have those extra meetings. Our budget passed. So it was just a matter of procedure to go ahead and to cancel that.
I also think putting the meetings together, I said last time, and I won't belabor the point, but I think having meetings for the sake of having meetings can be tough. To echo Joe's point, because it's a workshop meeting, we're not doing proclamations, things like that. Those are always in the first council meeting that we have. I also just want to take a minute to recognize that I think one of the most meaningful things that's happened in the past 8 weeks was done behind the scenes by town staff in securing the extra grant money for pickleball courts and all the other projects that we got done last time. That's all things that town staff is doing, on our residents' behalf behind the scenes and putting. I think when we meet, we should be meeting for meaningful things. And I would also just one more time echo that everyone at this table is engaged with the community at other meetings. It's one of the parts of being a town council. I mean, I know Patty just reported on 2 meetings that she attended, wetlands and Board of Ed, and there's many meetings for those things. Sarah, Joe, everybody's at meetings. So I do believe that we are still very available to the public. On the supermajority vote, I don't necessarily feel strongly about that, but given that, I wouldn't really change any of our procedures. I would keep it as presented in this.
Yeah, and if I could just say, I mean, I'm not saying that staff is certainly staff is doing excellent work, and they are definitely got a lot of work to do. And I don't think anybody's trying to, I'm certainly not looking at this to try to burden staff. But I do think having workshops and seeing that we have residents who come up with some things that, they have noted in the past that maybe are things that we could address or at least begin to talk about in that second meeting to be constructive on how we plan going forward. We have a lot to do in one meeting, the initial meeting, whether it be proclamations and all the other business that we conduct in the first meeting. And I think that second meeting strategically could be used to really kind of look at some of these other things that we maybe just don't take the time and have the time to do, i.e. report from the town planning and zoning and the Board of Ed and these things. Instead of a quick 3-minute report, there might be an ability to develop a larger conversation and a more pointed and focused conversation in a second meeting on some of these things. And that would be agendas that we collectively could maybe think about, maybe like put forward. So I wouldn't want to necessarily burden staff, but I do think as far as a level of governance, it might be beneficial to look at that second meeting as how do we leverage that second meeting to be something that's really strategically important for us to kind of further our abilities to take a look at how we are doing business, how we could do business, in any different way or in a more focused way, or so I do think that's where I think that could be a positive development.
Yeah, it could be. I understand what you're saying, but unfortunately, I think we as a body are the fiscal responsibility. So we can discuss all we want about TPZ. We are not TPZ,
Right.
And it's not for us to go and tell TPZ you're doing this, you're doing that. Just like we can't go to Board of Education or anybody else.
No,
So just sometimes to have those type of conversations is a moot point. We're going to say, hey, we discussed at town council level, and we don't like the way you're
I don't.
operating something or this or that. So I think those type of concerns need to go through TPZ and those channels in order for them to handle those kind of things. They really don't really come from us. Again, the stuff that we deal with is the goals and objectives that we laid out in the beginning of the year for the town manager and our staff to fulfill. We go through those goals, and we open those up again, then we can go ahead and add and move different things around to what's important for the town and what's not as important. Obviously, it's a living document. It changes, it breathes just like everything else. So times change, it changes too. So again, I think those sort of things that we're looking at to do, we wouldn't be accomplished in that second meeting.
I mean, I would differ a little bit. I'm not talking about micromanaging commissions and elected bodies. I'm not. But I'll give you an example, right? I'll give you an example. Now that I sit on the retirement board, and obviously the retirement board met, a little over a week ago. There's been some decisions made in the retirement board that I think are pretty important decisions as it relates to the unfunded balance and what we're trying to do to kind of close that. And I think, that would be something that might be just something that, again, would be an item that we could discuss and be able to have all the council members understand what is occurring there, right? And why that's important for the overall health of the town as far as the retirement system that's now closed, but obviously needs to be around for a long time to be able to successfully fund all the people that happen to be in the retirement system of the town. I don't think that's going to show up on a June meeting. It's reported quarterly or whatever it is. It's going to be like 2 minutes or 3 minutes. I think it takes a little bit more to understand it. I think it takes a little bit more to like get that discussion going. So again, these are things that I don't meet for meeting's sake.
But what
That's really not what I'm looking to do, but I think there is a way to maybe take a look at how we position ourselves on some of these things and where would be the opportunity to have those discussions.
What would we do with the information from the retirement board?
Well, it would inform you when you set the budget next year, what the target is, how much money would be needed in that target.
Wouldn't we have that discussion at budget time?
Well, you could, but I think there's decisions you make prior to even the budget time that impact that. But it's a larger discussion, Keith. I'm not going to get into a rapid fire question
Well,
answer
you
thing
did.
right now because it's a lot more layered.
If you're presenting
it's a lot
argument,
more
if you're presenting
layered and
arguments
nuanced than that.
But if you're presenting arguments that are, my opinion on that, having also sat on the retirement board, is it is an incredibly important board, particularly the union members that are come and present and participate. They are doing a lot of work on that side. I know that for everyone here, Joe is available and would very carefully lay any of those things out if there were concerns. But the time that we have those discussions to make movements in those directions would be at budget time. At budget time, it was not brought up by any of us.
Oh, no, because
But that's just, so hang on, so that was just the retirement piece. Beyond that, I just feel strongly about what Joe said.
Okay.
We meeting here to discuss and have conversations about things that is in our purview and our responsibility as this board. There are other boards and places that handle those other things. So when we report, they're we're just letting people know this is what's going on at this board, this is what's going on at that board, knowing that there is not much that we are going to do from this podium at these meetings to affect those boards. The public is also welcome to come to town planning and zoning meetings on Monday and then come here on Tuesday and give us comment at both meetings so they can talk to TPZ officials and they can let us know here as well. Beyond that, we've all received email communications from the public when things do get very important. I just, I think that the spirit of the idea is correct. I don't think that the effect will be anything more than discussion for the sake of discussion.
Joe,
Yeah,
may
one more thing too, before you start. Obviously if something does come up that's big, Kathy has her weekly meetings with her staff, so obviously she does her town manager report, so obviously if there's a blimp that needs to be discussed here, it will be brought up in her report to us, and then we can go ahead and further get information on that one too. So it's not like we will ever be limited on information of things that are going that people need to know about or we as a body needs to know about. Patty?
Two things. First, when I mentioned communication, I was talking about communication among members of town council regarding what types of meetings may be needed, what the issues are, what's happening. Second, I think it's not, I would piggyback a little bit on what Dave said, but for example, I'm gotten an email about the noise from the car shows at the Polo Grounds. Town council has control to change the noise ordinance. So that's not a TPZ issue, but that also would not be on our first month agenda. And I think also by canceling this, by not having a second meeting already scheduled, it also, you run into an issue of just not accomplishing some of the special workshop type opportunities. Looking at the proposed calendar for next year, there's a second meeting in January. The second one in February will be capital. March 12th, 15th, all those are budget. April 22nd, I assume, is if the budget doesn't pass. So there's no proposal to have that. There just aren't that many second meetings already proposed. And and in our strategic plan, there's the creation of subcommittees that have not been created yet, and there's other tasks that this body should be doing and accomplishing. And by canceling the second, by not requiring some type of discussion among the council before that second meeting is canceled, then we're foregoing opportunities that that maybe others don't know about. And I think by having communication about whether or not a meeting should be canceled, I think there's benefit to that. I also just want to point out that to change the rules of procedure as proposed, it does require a 2/3 vote of the members present.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't know. I'll just say, on the one hand, I don't really have any strong feelings on making this change needing a supermajority vote. I don't have strong feelings about it. I could be okay with that. I think some of the discussion tonight, I don't necessarily agree with what everyone's saying and why we need this. I think that we have all worked really collaboratively. Not really sure what workshops are missing that we're not doing in terms of all of our other liaison and committee work. Just speaking from my own experience being on the building committee, it is a bit heavy lift. I know our town staff is very, very active and burdened with that. One thing that I even forgot to mention in my report on the building committee is I know last month we talked about all the work that our staff did to get the additional money, the reimbursement money, but what I didn't learn until the next building committee meeting was that Kat was pretty much working 24/7 on that project for our town. So I have some concerns about overburdening our staff for no reason. That being said, procedurally, I don't really have a problem making the rules consistent. If we have the ability to call a meeting with 3 members, then making a supermajority to cancel a meeting. And then that goes to the point where if council members feel like there's something very important that isn't being addressed, you can reach out to the town manager, you can reach out to Joe. There's procedures here to address those. So I think some of the discussion, like, while I understand where it's coming from a little bit, I think it's a little exaggerated. I'll just put that out there.
I agree.
All right. Anybody else? So it's a 2/3 vote that has to pass the change in the rule?
I think that's what it
So,
says in the rules for
I just want to, I think last week, the only part that I'm confused on is last week when we were talking about, or last meeting, excuse me, doing something about the second meeting, I thought that we had the conversation where the preference was to just eliminate it and then add it as needed. So I think that's where some of this was born out of, right? That's what the discussion seemed like to me, at least at the table. But it seems that that's not the preference. So I guess my question is the preference to always have a second meeting schedule, always, and if there's not something, a workshop, whether it's CROG comes to present to us about the bridge or something like that, that's a workshop, and there's nothing like that on the radar, are we, as a group, finding something that we want to discuss at that meeting? Or would we then cancel it? What's the preference from the group that prefers to have the second meeting?
Can I?
Sure, yeah.
I think my preference is to have the second meeting scheduled. If there's nothing to discuss, cancel it.
Okay.
Because essentially, I think, and this is not in any way personal or accusing anyone on this council, but I think over time, you can end up with a situation where if it calls for one meeting a month, then you lapse into one meeting a month, because that's just the way boards that I've been on before, have happened. It's you look at what it requires and you do the bare minimum. And I think having the opportunity, having it in the rules of procedure, consistent with how it's been of 2 meetings, but allowing the town council to cancel the meeting, and I think it should probably allow the town council to, instead of specifying the town council would cancel the second meeting, given that we're canceling the one in August, I think it should be the town council by 2/3 majority can cancel any meeting. Because otherwise we couldn't cancel the August meeting under these rules of procedure.
And then so, like, with May, where there wasn't a workshop to be had, and we wanted to cancel that meeting, that was what was brought up. I just, my confusion and my pushback in May was that we should come, open the meeting, and maybe just if there's public comment, we take the public comment and then we go. Even if it's a 5-minute meeting, then was important for us to do. And I push back on that based on, again, our attendance in other public meetings and us being available to the public, and I would still push back to that. understanding that we maybe don't agree on that part,
Mm-hmm.
would you have held a May meeting, a second May meeting, and found something to fill it in, or would you have been
I
comfortable in canceling it?
think my preference would have been to have had a communication before we sat here, like a phone call from Joe to say, hey, thinking about canceling the second meeting in May. Do you think there's anything that I'm not thinking about that we should be talking about or doing? I think something I'm not saying to everyone, but I'm saying some type of communication across the aisle that just says, this is what we're thinking of and putting on the agenda.
I agree. I also do think that it could be beholden on us as members, and again, not to point at anybody. Knowing that Joe sets the, meets at, when you meet on Wednesday, right, usually, with Kathy to discuss the agenda, that it could be a conversation that could be had on Tuesday, or, this is something that is coming up, I don't know if it's on your radar, we'd love to get it in the second meeting in May or in June or wherever it may be, and then that could be a discussion that could be branched out from there, and then it could come back after he meets, and that's where the conversation could happen.
And I think last time in May, though, we didn't know that the May meeting was proposed to be canceled until we.
I understand that, yeah, I got you there.
Can I just say a couple of things?
Certainly.
Yeah. One of the things that I think is important to note is that, and it's coming up, is the meeting schedule. And I think that we typically, for 10 years, have not had an August Town Council meeting, and we set it as an agenda to do it. And I don't think that's really appropriate, because we never have it. So to say, let's cancel as needed. The May meeting is a little bit different, because the May meeting, we have not had a May meeting other than the fact, and why it's so late, is because you have to have it if the budget fails, and you don't know if the budget fails. So that on the agenda schedule is why it would stay on, and that's why it's later. We have never had, since we've been doing 2 council meetings, we've never had a second August meeting, we've never had a second July meeting, we've never had a second November meeting, and we've never had a second December meeting. We have never, in the last 10 to 12 years, we've never had a second March Town Council meeting, because we have all the budget meetings. We sometimes have April ones, we sometimes have September ones, and there is things to fill in for these meetings. And again, I get nervous, to be honest, about different topics that we're randomly picking out. Not that they're not important, but where the topics that we should be having the special meetings on is the strategic plan and what those goals and objectives are. And yes, we definitely could meet and have a topic and talk about that. But for instance, in May, the reason why that hasn't happened is because the staff isn't ready to have that topic discussion yet. It's to talk about sidewalks and do that. We just came out of the budget. We're running around with the 1928 building. We're running around with the high school. We're not ready to have a big sidewalk discussion. And I think we should be driving back to that and on what the goals and objectives are. And again, there is always stuff to talk about, and we could have a meeting on it, but I would like the meeting to be as productive as possible, and us spending our time on what we have to get accomplished now, and we have a long-term goal with a strategic plan to say, now in September, we're gonna have I'm sure we're gonna have a workshop meeting. We're gonna have to decide, are we gonna take on sidewalks, or are we gonna take on the fire station building committee? That's what the second September meeting is gonna be geared for. That's what I envisioned it as. Then we go in October, we'll probably still be talking about that. I envision that we would probably have another October meeting to either see where we're at. So, again, I think, to me, it's twofold, is that the rules of procedure don't seem completely accurate, because we've never had the second town council meeting on a lot of the months. And then the second thing is I think it's fairer to the public that when we set our meeting schedule, we actually, if we don't intend to meet on August, that we don't put those meetings that historically we haven't done it. But that's just my thought on it.
And you have to add in the last second money that we just received from D'Amico, slapping everybody else. So obviously, there's been running around with, $400,000 of new projects for the town. So, again, obviously, there's 2 different issues that we've been talking about. The first one is changing the wording as is, or as needed. To order to sort of fulfill what you were asking for before, is like, if we need this meeting or we don't need this meeting. So I think that's what that whole as needed was in reply to your comment before the meeting. So I think that's what we're looking at first, correct? And then the schedule comes on behind it for the next vote? Or is this all one vote as far as?
No, just the
No,
rules of
right.
procedure.
All rules of procedure.
Yeah.
That's all we're talking about. So as,
Right, but the rules of procedure, for example, if we change the rules of procedure to read like this, technically, we can't take up the cancellation of the August 12th meeting because it's not contemplated by the rules of procedure. And under Robert's rules, if your bylaws don't provide a way to cancel a meeting, you can't cancel the meeting. Effectively, the meeting gets canceled because nobody shows up, but, so it's a combination of.
What do you mean by people don't show up? People in the audience or
No,
people in the council?
The council doesn't, so if you don't have a quorum, the meeting is canceled. But technically, so it gets into semantics.
That is, because, you know,
Yeah,
who's
yeah.
going to do that, really? You're
Right.
going to, like, not show up now at a meeting?
But having the rules of procedure be consistent, it's,
Patty, can you, I'm sorry, can you explain, so why couldn't you cancel the August meeting by making this change?
because all this change would allow for the second town council meeting to be canceled, and wouldn't August 12th, isn't that the first one in August?
But why couldn't the regular town council meetings will be held on the second and fourth Tuesday of the month? Are you saying because we've spelled out that the second meeting can be canceled, that makes it seem that the first meeting could not be canceled?
Right, yeah, because it says shall, so that means you have to do it.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, if you just left it as is, I mean, these have been our rules of procedure, then the rules of procedure are wrong for.
Yes,
we-
I understand
Yeah.
that, but,
Yeah.
you know, just because, you know, as long as we're talking about it, getting them to reflect actual practice.
Well, I mean, again, you could either leave it as is, leave it, don't make any changes because they're wrong, if you're going literally, because we don't meet on, a lot of times we don't meet on the second and fourth Tuesday. We have Monday meetings for the budget, when we set our meeting schedule up. So, I mean, that whole sentence, if you're taking it as very literal, is not accurate, because, you know, if you look here on the next agenda item, we're not meeting because I think it's a holiday, and so we're meeting on that Monday. We meet on another Monday, and so we don't meet on a Tuesday, we meet on a Monday.
So we really open up a big can of worms, don't we?
So table N1 and just move on to
Yeah.
the next. Okay.
Yeah.
So do I just state that? So I'm going to table N1, and we're going to move on to N2.
You have to take a vote.
Oh, do I take a vote to table?
Wait,
You have to, technically, you don't, table only puts it to the end of the meeting.
So
Oh, gotcha.
But,
So
yeah.
I would like to
withdraw.
withdraw N1. Do I-
Second.
Yeah, I don't think you need a second, because you've just. the
Just gonna
motion's no
remove
longer
it.
on
The
the-
I'm going to go on to N2, and then if Patty yells at me for that, I'm going to.
I'm just trying.
I'm just kidding. All right, so I'm on to N2. Withdrawn N1. We're going to take another swing at this. To approve the town council meeting schedule for 2025 and set the date of the annual town meeting.
Second.
Motion and second. Kathy?
So we do this every June, so just so you know, this is the typical time. I have removed the meetings that historically have not been held, like I said, the second March meeting and the August town council meeting. The remaining meetings on the fourth Tuesday remain on the schedule with the understanding that they could be canceled if the workshop meeting is not needed. That was based on the language from what we talked about at the last agenda item. And then if you go through it, you will see that there are some Monday regular town council meetings because of, on Monday due to Veterans Day. And that's, what day would that be? November, right?
March 11th? No,
No.
November
No, November 10th.
November
10th with the 3 stars.
Yeah, so that would be a Monday. So there are a couple of Monday meetings on here.
All right, any other discussion on this? So we're okay with changing the Monday meeting? We're good? All in favor?
She has a discussion point.
I just want to say, I mean, I have no problems with the meeting agenda as proposed. I just think we will need to go back to the rules of procedure at some point to get them to line up.
And that's kind of what I was going to say. I have no problem with the schedule, but the rules and procedures, I think we're going to have to revisit.
But Kathy, I appreciate that August isn't on here, because I think it's better overall for the public to just know that there
Right.
isn't going to be an August meeting.
Right, yeah. I mean, like I said, we haven't, probably 10 or 12 years, we haven't had the August or the March
Right,
meeting, so
yeah.
just taking it off.
I think that makes sense.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. N3.
N3, to cancel the August 13th, 2024 regular town council meeting. And that's a change from what's on your agenda. It should be the 13th.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion? Oh, Kathy, I'm sorry.
Again, I think we've
Yep, hit
talked
that
about
one.
this.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
N4, make a motion to recommend the release of 4,157 square foot piece of town open space property to WD2 LLC in exchange for 4,751 square foot piece of property from WD2 LLC to be made permanent town open space for referral to Town Planning and Zoning Commission for the report under Section 8-24 of the Connecticut General Statutes.
Second.
Motion is second. Kathy?
I have Shannon here, our town planner, that's going to go through this agenda item with you all.
Probably just threw off the cameraman, but I'm not putting my back to all of you because that's who I'm talking to. Good evening. I'm Shannon Rutherford, the town planner. As Kathy mentioned, I'm here to discuss the land swap between WD2 LLC and the town of Farmington. This is a requested land swap from WD2 LLC, and the information was part of your agenda packet. The proposal includes moving the westerly property line that had been part of the subdivision further west, but it would still be east of the top of the embankment to the Unionville Brook, and it's which the top of embankment is contour elevation 258 on the plan that had been provided to all of you and is currently up on the screen. The area added to Lot 76 is approximately 4,157 square feet of land. That would be town land that had originally been deeded as open space to the town as part of the original subdivision. And the new western property line will include a 5-foot conservation easement with fence as proposed, and that's what's on the screen this evening. And that's on the left-hand edge, there's a dark gray edge. That's the 5-foot conservation easement, and the fence would be placed on that eastern edge, so between the conservation easement and the usable yard for Lot 76. The northern portion of the lot, that kind of looks like a panhandle, that would be the land that would be then released back to the town of Farmington in exchange, and would be then put into town open space. That area is 4,751 square feet, and that's a net increase to the town of Farmington of 594 square feet. This process, as indicated, is to partake in an 8-24 referral to Town Plan and Zoning Commission. Town Plan and Zoning Commission will have our Conservation Commission review this to issue a report as an advisory board to TPZ. So Conservation Commission will look at this, understanding the proximity to the Unionville Brook and the fact that this has been town open space. Review it, issue a report to TPZ. TPZ will then review it at their subsequent meeting to then issue a report back to Town Council for the July meeting. And I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Anybody have questions for Shannon?
I do, Joe.
Go ahead.
Shannon, the land that's the northern, that panhandle section that's to be conveyed to the town of Farmington, is that currently developable? What, is it not usable by the developer? I mean, I understand why they want the additional parcel. I'm just trying to understand the nature of what they're proposing to give us.
It had been part of the original lot. So the original lot's approximately 21,000 square feet, and with this land swap, drops down to 20,000 and a half, roughly. So that panhandle would have been usable land to whoever future homeowner. However, that 258 contour that I referenced, and that's the highlighted yellow line approximately, so that's just off the edge of that proposed property line, just west. So plan left is west, north happens to be straight up conveniently. So that 258 contour continues to wrap up into that panhandle. So the top of bank, a good portion of that panhandle is down the embankment. The land area had been developed using a blanket 100-foot off of the wetland delineation without taking into account the topography of the land. So while this portion that could come back to Lot 76 is at the same elevations, plateaued at the top of bank, the panhandle actually has started to tail off and down towards the Unionville Brook. So this will allow that embankment area to be protected and not be developed or not usable land, so it won't be mowed. The whole area right now currently is wooded. That land has not been touched at all currently.
And as it currently stands, I mean, I assume my understanding is there's not a house here.
Correct. There is
And-
nothing built. That land has not been touched.
And once there's a house there, the people who own the house, they would have, assuming status quo, they would, what rights would they have to go in and clear? Would they have to go to inland wetlands first, or?
So,
I don't know what the
so
boundaries are.
currently, so they would be able to use any portion of the existing lot that they wanted without.
Without any approvals?
Correct.
Okay.
So that's that's the approved lot with the Bridgehampton subdivision. And so that lot, most likely, would they clear up into the panhandle as part of developing the lot? Probably not. But would it be potentially used in the future by the homeowner for a garden, playscape, tree house, whatever? Absolutely, probably. And there really would not be any recourse on our end.
Is there any environmental value to what we're giving them? Because I see the upland review area line kind of follows the original.
Correct.
property
So that's what
boundary.
I was referring to. That was it was a blanket 100-foot
Okay,
that
so-
had been allotted for the entire development without taking into account the topography. So there's still, from that 100-foot, there's roughly another 25 to 30 feet till you hit the top of bank.
Okay.
So that area is all roughly at somewhere between 258 to 260. Once you hit the top of bank, you drop down 30 feet to the Unionville Brook.
Okay.
It's down at 228.
So effectively, this area is labeled upland review area because of the distance.
The
but
distance.
There's really there's no sensitive wetland environmental
No.
issues here.
Correct.
Just one last question, because in I think this land was donated, the original donation, I think, occurred around 2007. Do you know why the original property boundary, do you know if there's anything in the TPZ or any of the approvals as to why the boundaries were written this way? Just because I assume the developer knew what this lot was going to look like at the time.
Again, so there's, yes, so I think at one point it was just as part of the whole thing. This is one of, I would say 100-ish lots for Bridgehampton. I don't have the entire subdivision total off the top of my head, but it's one of 100 lots that's obviously a very extensive subdivision that included Long Ridge Court that's off of River Road. So I think, given the entirety of the process, he said, okay, at the time, inland wetlands was part of TPZ. Conservation Commission was separate. So our boards have changed. That change happened in 2012. Again, I think that lot line is set, again, they were just set using the 100-foot. There was no other, it was just a blanket 100-foot, that was it. So that's how that lot ended up looking the way it does.
Okay.
And that's the genesis of it.
Right.
And there's, I would say 2 or 3 lots left in the development that have yet to be developed. So it's not as if this will set a precedent and we'll have this request multiple other times. He's tried, this lot has proved to be quite difficult because of the narrowness of the lot and having a usable square area.
Thank you. That's helpful. I was confused by the references in the request to sensitive land use and how it was all.
Yes, and I wanted, it was discussed, so that's the agenda item was crafted by staff, but I felt important to let Mr. Wilson's letter stand as is as his request. So,
Thank you. This eases some of my concerns.
certainly.
I just have one question, because I'm curious. What is the easement for 8 Banbury?
At the
What
back?
does that mean for the town?
It does, it was a drainage easement for their foundation drain, so it would continue. We don't, our records would indicate that drain, we believe the drain actually got piped out the front into the catch basins, which is permitted because it's clean water, it's the foundation drain. So it was piped into the catch basins, but the easement was recorded at the time with the subdivision. It can stay, so at any point, if the homeowner has an issue with their foundation drain and wants to come out the back, they can, and there wouldn't be any issue.
I was just curious.
Yeah,
Thanks.
no, so it's inconsequential for us.
Anybody else?
My only question, I think Patty asked kind of the questions I was curious on, but do we set a precedent at all that, not necessarily in this subdivision, but wherever we have open space as an abutter to a developable lot, do we open ourselves to a precedent that, you know, things that are settled in '07 with a subdivision plan that's approved with the current commission at the time might be in play because there's a request by somebody who wants to change the configuration of the approved lot?
I don't think it necessarily sets a precedent. I think, as with any of the requests we receive, it requires an evaluation, and staff's evaluated. Mr. Sear and I have been on the property a number of times, and we had the surveyor stake the existing property line, and we pulled survey tape ourselves to the top of bank to verify the elevations and distances. We've done it more than once, just to make sure.
Okay.
So I think, as with anything else, there's a separate independent evaluation of these requests and evaluated based on the merits and the concerns of the land, of our regulations,
Sure.
and our ability to accommodate any given request.
Got it.
Joe, can I ask one more question?
Yes.
Shannon, is this something, like, if the property owner hadn't come to us, obviously, we're not going to go to him and ask for a
No.
swap. But
Correct.
with this, overall, is this something the town, if it was an ideal world and the town could go do something like this, does the town
Would we have
prefer
pursued this?
parcel
Would
to
we
the
have
other one?
pursued this?
Yeah.
No. It probably wouldn't have come up, but at the time of construction, we'd be looking at it, and there would probably be other issues that come up. That, yeah, this probably could have been pushed and shoved. Again, it wouldn't have come up because we're not looking at it. It's
Right.
not on our radar screen to just go and evaluate these
Right.
parcels,
Maybe
but-
I'm just not being, I think I expressed myself poorly. Does the town prefer this parcel to the portion that we'd be donating? Like, is there environmental value or anything like that?
I'd say aside from the fact that, again, it removes embankment area from the usable land of the resident.
Okay.
And I think to that end, there's some value to that with respect to just, it protects, we have better protection to the embankment.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
That's all discussion.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
for your time, Shannon.
Agenda item N5, to award bid number 349 HVAC maintenance and repairs at various town buildings to Advanced Mechanical Services of Farmington, Connecticut for a total contract price of $64,000.
Second.
Motion and a second. You got screwed up with that number, huh? A little too small for you?
It's the easy ones.
Not billions of dollars? Kathy?
This bid is to contract with a qualified vendor to maintain and repair as needed the heating and cooling systems at the police facility, the senior community center, town hall, and the 5 fire stations. We are recommending Advanced Mechanical Service be awarded the bid, even though they're not the lowest bidder. The recommendation to contract with Advanced Medical Services because they have performed repair work on the mechanical systems at several town buildings, so they're familiar with some of the systems. They are a Farmington business, so they would not have to bill us for travel cost, and when you factor in the potential repair work that they may have to undertake, and these hourly rates are the lowest. And we've worked with them before, and they're responsive and capable.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Agenda item N6, to award bid number 350 sidewalk repairs Route 4 to Clover Construction Company of Bristol, Connecticut for a total contract price of $93,250.
Second.
Motion is second. Kathy?
This is to award a contract with a qualified vendor to replace a section of sidewalk and granite curbing, repair the electrical underground conduit, and install precast light pole foundations at the poles of 768 Farmington Avenue. The sidewalk curbing and light poles were damaged as a result of a truck tip-over, and an insurance claim has been filed against the truck owner. The town is expecting to be reimbursed for these expenditures.
Questions?
Kathy, when you say expecting, is that, can you provide a little color on?
Joe?
For the town is expecting to be reimbursed for these expenditures, what's the likelihood of what does expecting mean, likelihood, or it's been communication already?
I think we'll probably have some discussion as to the total value of it. They can put on notice that we are filing a claim for the repairs.
Okay.
But obviously, there's going to be a difference of opinion towards depreciation and things like that. This is a relatively new sidewalk. It's less than a year old, or 2 years old, less than 2 years old. So we should get my guess is we'll probably get 65 to 75%.
Okay, thank you. And I assume, and we have room in the budget for the 25 to 30%?
For this type of thing, but we replenish it when we get the insurance proceeds.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
N7, to award a contract for the purchase of a 2024 Western Star 49X tri-axle dump truck to Western Star, Connecticut of East Hartford, Connecticut, at a purchase price of $249,100.
Second.
Motion is second. Kathy?
This is to purchase a heavy-duty dump truck that will be used in the Highway and Grounds Division for their daily operations. And the unit being acquired will replace the 1998 heavy-duty dump truck. Funds were included in the capital budget.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
N8, to approve the following property tax refunds.
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. There is no executive session, so on to adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn tonight's town council meeting.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 8:37. Have a good night.